Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining me in this live today. Hope you're doing well. Hi, I'm Ruby, and if this is your first time seeing one of my videos or joining one of my lives, um, sorry, I have the Ruby Room, and this channel, I just share things on just helping women navigating the complexities of growth, relationships, and most especially when it comes to motherhood. I am a young mom. I am in my early motherhood. I am 9 months postpartum with my son. My husband and I welcomed our son last year. And it's been such a joy having him. And I just love having this channel because my inspiration for having this channel was just to help women who are maybe pregnant or trying to conceive, or maybe just in their early motherhood, that early time of having an infant or maybe having a toddler. And just we can be there for one another, having a nice community, a place whereby they can have a resource to find answers to some things that they're dealing with or curious about. And I go back to when I was pregnant or when my husband and I were trying to conceive, things that helped us out, the resources that were out there that were beneficial to me. And mental health is just something that's so important to me. And so that's why I wanted to create this video today, hopping on this live about when it comes to managing your mental health during pregnancy and also in early motherhood. Like I said, I'm 9 months postpartum, so I'm very much in the thick of things as well. So I just wanted to do that. And May is actually Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I just thought what a fitting time to get on here and just talk about 5 tips that I highly recommend you consider if you're trying to just find better ways to manage your mental health, or if you're kind of having a hard time right now, struggling, and that's okay. It's okay to not be okay. We all have moments in our days and months, and it's such a cyclical thing. We all go through these cycles and seasons that we have the ups and we have the downs, and that happens. I just wanted to definitely make the disclaimer that I am not a mental health professional whatsoever. I'm just truly speaking off experience, lived experience, wisdom from others, and just based on research and things that I have read and seen. And so that's where my knowledge and tips are coming from. So let's get started. I believe it's just 5 that we're going to go through. It's going to be a quick video because I believe that by implementing these 5 strategies, you can be able to help your mental health during pregnancy and also early motherhood, ultimately allowing you to be your better self during such a special time in your life. And that's why I wanted to just be there as a nice support and encouragement for you, mama. So, the first thing I highly recommend is to guard your heart and your mind. For me as a believer, one of my favorite verses in the Bible is Proverbs 4:23. And it tells you, above all else, guard your heart, because out of this things flow. It says, for everything you do flows from it. And so it's so important to guard your heart in terms of guarding your mind as well. And be careful of what you look at. Be careful of what you listen to. So guard your eyes, guard your ears, because that matters so much. So if you are someone who is very fear driven, be cautious of what you're listening to or the types of advice that you're taking in during this time period, during this time of pregnancy, or during this time of early motherhood. You don't want to be around people who are going to constantly be telling you, oh, you shouldn't do this, this is bad. And it's good to have advice and tips. However, sometimes people give unsolicited advice that are not helpful. They're actually just making things worse for you. So be careful of what you're consuming, and whether and I using specific examples of people who are in your life. Like some people just want to help, and when you're pregnant, oh my goodness, everyone has something to say. Everyone has a tip. Everyone has something they want to send you, some research they read, some story they read, some article, some video they watched. They're going to throw so much at you, and it's so overwhelming. And some of it, like, it's sadly, sometimes it's usually moms who should already know how overwhelming such a time is, but they just overwhelm you with so much, and sometimes it may be your single friends who don't have kids or anything, but most of the time it's people who have already walked through this path with you. And it's usually they want to help you out. However, it can get so overwhelming sometimes. So learn to create boundaries, learn to have barriers whereby you're not being overwhelmed with having so much when it comes to information overload. Basically, that's what I'm saying. So be careful of what you're listening to. I'm someone who loves listening to podcasts and things like that, and so I had to be cautious too. I remember when we were trying to conceive, and we went through a loss the first time that we successfully conceived. And so I had to make sure that I guarded what I listened to and also what I saw as well. I remember on Instagram, I was following a bunch of things that have to do with trying to conceive. But I know in order for me to truly heal, after that loss, I needed to step away from that. And so I remember just muting a lot of Instagram um what is it called, pages rather, muting them so that I can just kind of stay away, just kind of clear my mind and free my mind from trying to conceive, because I needed that to heal. And so when it comes to maybe listening to podcasts or what you're watching on TV, stay clear of those things. For another example is, I remember when I was single, and I was struggling with singleness, but I also wanted to learn to be content in it. And something I was very intentional about is watching romantic shows or romantic movies and things like that, because if I watch that, then I become just sensitive to what's going on, and then I'm like, oh, I wish I had that. Then I see myself getting sad, then I see myself feeling lonely, and all these things. And so I was very cognizant of the fact to stay away from watching romantic movies, romantic shows, and things like that, the love things, because I knew that that would get me into this sad space, and I did not want that to happen at all. So just be aware of that. Don't lead by fear, because people are going to throw so much at you, and you never know how it's going to affect you. Maybe you can listen, but it doesn't mean that you have to digest everything that you hear. Just in one ear and right out the other. That's the way to just kind of navigate through that. Don't let things consume you whereby it's just fueling your lack of joy, rather than you enjoying such a special moment in your life. Now you're filled with a lot of anxiety and worries and fears and things like that. Don't let that. Definitely guard those things. And that's why my first tip is guard your heart and your mind. The second tip is to stay connected with loved ones, stay connected with your friends, stay connected with your family members. Don't isolate yourself, because it can be such an isolating time for sure. And, my heart goes out to all those moms who went through pregnancy and early motherhood and things like that during the pandemic. I recently had my interview with Maud, who shared her story about having a baby, being pregnant and having a baby during the pandemic. And she shared the isolation now and how tough that was for her going through coronavirus and just navigating motherhood, early motherhood, her first time being pregnant, her first time having a baby. Unfortunately, her husband was not even near her. He was out of the country and things like that. And she was in a completely different country, in a foreign country. I highly recommend, when you're done watching this, to check out the interview that I did with Maud recently, just her sharing her pregnancy and postpartum journey, because pregnancy can be such a time whereby you feel isolated, and especially if you are in a season whereby you might be the only one in your friend group who's pregnant. I was very blessed whereby last year when I was pregnant, several of my friends were all pregnant, so that was really nice for us to just be on the phone or hang out and talk about, yeah, all the nausea and the throwing up and all the struggles. So that was such a blessing for me, but that's not always the case for others. There's some whereby you were the first one to get pregnant, or maybe the last one to get pregnant. And so others are not in that current season with you. So isolation and loneliness can definitely worsen your feelings of anxiety and depression. And so I highly recommend staying connected with people whom you love, or people whom you have a connection, whom you have, I'd rather say, you're in that same season, you're in a similar season of life, you're in going through the same things. Stay connected to people like that. That's very, very important. And it can be through phone calls. You don't have to be hanging out with someone. It can be through phone calls, FaceTime, video chats, whatever that may be. Go out for a coffee, or maybe you can go on a trip or something like that, maybe go visit some folks. Just remember to do that. Another example that you thing you could do is to join a support group. Maybe if you're pregnant, join a support group with a lot other pregnant moms, or if you're a new mom and things like that, join a support group with new moms. um, I've mentioned previously in one of my videos that I've been part of a breastfeeding support group. And the first time I attended, actually, I was pregnant. I think I was about maybe 7 months or so pregnant, the 7 or 8 months pregnant, the first time I attended that meeting. And after having my son, I've attended as well those meetings for the breastfeeding support group. But it's a breastfeeding slash mommy group, if you think about it. And so that's been really nice because we're all in the season of having infants, having newborns, whereby we share, okay, what's going on? What we share patterns and things like that, sleep patterns, like, okay, how's your baby sleeping? Or giving someone else a tip, like, okay, what do you do? How are you swaddling your baby and stuff? Or just talking about our mental health as well, like how are we doing? Just it's not just even about the babies or our families, but also how are we doing, checking in with one another. Those are so, so, so important. You can join like a Facebook book mommy group and stuff. I'd say use caution in forums like that, because sometimes there can be some negativity in some of these Facebook groups and things like that. I've experienced that and seen some of it, and it's just not the healthiest thing to take in. So I've had to kind of take myself away from some of these mommy groups. But I think right now I'm only part of maybe three, maybe two or three, which I believe are healthy and life giving mommy groups on social media. And they've been beneficial to me for sure. So, second tip, make sure you stay connected to your loved ones. Don't isolate yourself at all. Put yourself out there, and that's okay, because you're going to get tips and advice that are going to be very helpful for you. The third thing that will help you manage your mental health during this season of life is to take care of your physical health. Get moving. When I was pregnant, I was doing yoga, as tough as it was to get out of the house and go out and do yoga. It was so difficult, but I highly recommend get out of the house and go work out, or just go for a walk. Make sure you're eating nutritious meals. These are I mentioned this in a previous video about self-care for moms. I highly recommend you check out that video after watching this, but giving some tips on just eating nutritious meals, making sure you have a healthy diet, you're staying active, you're staying hydrated. Those are all the things that contribute to our mental health. It's so important. When you're pregnant, it's so important to drink water. You want to stay hydrated, as much. And it's going to get very uncomfortable towards the latter part of pregnancy, because now your bladder is just the lightest and weakest thing there is. So it's like, just as much as you're drinking water, it's the same amount that you're using the bathroom, which can just be so uncomfortable, especially at night. My son, oh my goodness, nighttime was just the worst, because it's like I'd be thirsty. And of course, I'm drinking water. And then now I have to pee. And then I come back in bed. It takes me forever to get comfortable in bed. And when I'm finally comfortable, boom, I got to go pee again. And so definitely that was such a struggle for me. But I highly recommend, making sure that you're moving, making sure that you're exercising. Walks can help you reduce your stress and it can improve your mood. I know that, just for instance, yesterday my husband got home and it was just, my son and I had been home all day, and I was just like, honey, let's go for a walk. And we went for a walk, just put our son in the stroller and we went for a nice walk. The weather is getting beautiful these days. And so that was really, really nice for me as well, just to kind of get out and just get some fresh air and get some exercise in. So go for walks. If you got that baby, just put that baby in a stroller and get to walking. Make sure the baby has the right comfy clothes on and all that stuff, a nice shade if possible, if it's too sunny. But go out there and just do whatever little walk you can, whether it's like 15-minute walk, 20, an hour, whatever it may be. Go out there, maybe do some yoga at home. You can watch YouTube videos. You don't have to spend a lot of money or anything like that when it comes to these things. So just make sure you take care of your physical health. And that has to do with exercise, your nutrition, and also when it comes to staying hydrated and drinking fluids, have fluids that are, for electrolytes and things like that. The fourth thing I would say is to prioritize your self care. And I'm not going to go too deep into this because I already created another video when it comes to self care for moms. So, but I highly recommend prioritizing your self care. And that's taking time for yourself. It's very, very important. That's not selfish because if your cup is empty, you cannot fill the cup of others. That's just how it works. If you don't have much to give, if and so what are you going to give others? You can't be your best self for your family. And I remember Maud making a mention of this in the video that we did together, her sharing her experience and things like that. That's why she prioritizes exercise and all these other things. So I, like I said earlier, I highly recommend you check out that video that I did with Maud, her sharing her motherhood journey. But that's so important. Take time for yourself, even if it's just a few minutes. A few minutes in your day. Take breaks. Those are really, really important. If you are stressed out and maybe just crying might help you, cry it out, friend. Cry it out, mama. Cry it out because you feel so much better. Because there are times I know I'm struggling and I just cry and I feel so much better. And I feel so much better. I'm like, oh, that was a good cry. All right, let's continue our day. And so do something like that. Take a nice, relaxing bath. If you're pregnant, use caution with that. Make sure you talk with your doctor because I know that's a sticky situation when it comes to taking baths when you're pregnant. But if you're not pregnant or anything like that, take a nice, relaxing bath, read a book, watch a movie or a show that you love. Express your creativity. Maybe it's through music. Maybe you can write something out. For me, one thing that helps me a lot is journaling. I love writing. So just kind of writing out how I feel and just have word dump on a paper helps me so much because I just love journaling and just expressing my thoughts and my mind and all these different things. Do things that bring you joy. I highly recommend that. And that'll help you relax. For me, for instance, maybe reading my Bible. Those are things that will help me kind of relax and things like that, or praying or listening to worship music or listening to some kind of sermon or something like that, whether it's a podcast. But those are all the things that help me relax a lot. And also, another thing too, my husband and I were talking about this last night, is just even doing like a gratitude list, and what that looks like is kind of writing out all your blessings, all the things that you already have, being thankful for that. As a mama, you might be struggling and all that stuff, but just being thankful, like, Lord, thank you for the blessing of being able to carry this child. There's some women out there who are trusting you for children and don't have children yet you've seen me fit to carry this baby right now. So just a gratitude list. Those things can be so uplifting for me. I always want to make a list and stuff. One of my favorite verses in the Bible is Philippians 4:8, which is talking about what you're supposed to think on, what are the things you're supposed to focus your mind on. So I would put down like, what are things that are true? And write a list of things that are true in my life, that Jesus loves me, my husband loves me, I am very loved by my family, that I am blessed and I have a purpose on earth. These are all things that are true about me. And so I write these things down, remind myself and encourage myself about all these different blessings that I have in my life. And that's what a gratitude list would look like. Just saying the realities of your life right now rather than focusing so much on what you do not have. Focus on what you do have, what you're blessed with, the things that bring you joy. I highly recommend thinking about that. And like I said, don't feel guilty about taking time for yourself. Make sure that you're intentional about taking care of yourself. It's not selfish. I mean, there are definitely extreme ways that you could become selfish, but in these moments, just managing your mental health, it's so important to have your alone time and taking time for yourself so you can be the best mom, the best wife, the best friend, the best daughter to your family and your friends. So remember to do that. So, number 4, prioritize your self-care. And make sure you check out the video I've already created about self-care when you're done watching this. And the fifth and final thing is, like I said in the beginning, I am not a mental health professional. So I highly recommend, if you're struggling with feelings of depression, anxiety, or some kind of other mental health issues, don't be afraid to seek professional help. Please, 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 dear friend, I am begging you. Please seek professional help. Don't feel that you are, weak or anything like that, or that it's just you need to just toughen up and things like that. We all need help. It just depends on what kind of help. Well, we all do. So do not feel afraid about that. Talk to a healthcare provider about it. Talk to a therapist, a licensed therapist, or a counselor about these things, or call a mental health hotline and tell them you're struggling. And I know that you could be anxiety driven and stuff like that. Sometimes, like, oh no, if I call, then what could happen? If you're a young mom and you're thinking, and you have other kids, you're like, what if they take my child away from me? But please seek help, seek professional help. Do not try to, I know us women, we're so we're guilty of this, of trying to play superwoman sometimes. And that's not healthy at all. That's not healthy, because there are repercussions to it. There are definitely side effects to our health, physical and mental health, when it comes to this idea of being superwoman in life. That's where God does not call us to be superwoman at all. We're called to need one another, to be there for one another. God created us to be in a community. That's his purpose and his plan for us. And so make sure you seek help. Talk to, and like, maybe you could talk to a spiritual advisor or something like that, or a spiritual counselor. Like I said, for me, like when I've struggled and stuff like that, I've sought out help from the church, but I've also sought out help from a therapist. That's something that I've done as well, not just going from the spiritual end, but also from the medical scientific side of things. I've done therapy 3 times, two were from just the medical section of it. And then the third one had to do with us, was faith based. So there's no shame in getting help. And I know that there are some of these stereotypes and stigmas associated when it comes to seeking therapy and things like that. Like when it comes to race, there's some folks who are like, oh, black people we shouldn't seek help with that. Just pray about it or something, or toughen up and all that stuff. When it comes to mental health, there's no race or color to mental health struggles. There really is no face for mental health struggles. People who are Black, people who are white, folks of Asian descent, folks of Latin descent, we all have mental health struggles. I've struggled with depression before. And it's crazy, because you think depression is only when you're having a hard time in life. I am sometimes usually in the highest places in life. Sometimes when it's like the most joyful things going on in my life, yet I'll be depressed. So it doesn't matter the season you're in, that, oh, it's because someone's unemployed, that's why they're depressed. Someone could be getting married and they're depressed. Someone could be about to have a baby. For me, I know that I've gone through different seasons, joyful seasons, and I was still in a state of depression. I remember when I just got married, I just went through one of the happiest moments of my life, marrying the love of my life, and I was in a state of depression for a little bit. And then also when I got pregnant with our son, I was very thankful that here I am pregnant. I've prayed for this moment. And then I saw myself depressed when my son was born. Very joyful, very happy that he was born, but also I was also depressed. And so it doesn't have to be when you're in some low moment, when you're in the valley, that depression happens. These things happen. And for me, I am a believer. My husband's a pastor, but I don't hide under the covers of faith and religion saying, "Oh well, I just have to pray it away." Sometimes you do need the medication. Sometimes you do need that professional help to get you through it. God has given wisdom to these professionals. There's a reason these studies have existed. So seek that help. Don't misuse it. Maud shared that in her story as well, of her just, talking to people and saying something's wrong. I don't feel okay, when she was going through her postpartum depression. Yet people downplayed it and dismissed it. And that's because of cultural stigmas, for and so don't say, oh, I have to just be tough, or, therapy is just for a certain group of people and it's not for me and stuff like that. I just have to pray it away or work really, really hard and fight this off. And there really are times whereby you do need to get that professional help and get that medication. So there's no shaming asking for help when you need it. Don't let religion, race, or culture discourage you from getting the help that you need. Medication is okay. It's okay to not be okay and to seek ways and means whereby you can become okay. And so those are things that I highly recommend. So those are the five things. So just a recap of the five strategies and tips when it comes to managing your mental health during pregnancy and also during early motherhood, and helping you just navigate this really special season in your life. I just want to share those five tips again. Number one, make sure you guard your heart and your mind. The second tip is stay connected with your loved ones, friends, or stay connected in a support group. The third thing is to take care of your physical health as well. And also, the fourth thing is to prioritize your self care. And the fifth and final thing is to seek professional help if you need it. Just highly recommend you just consider all these things and take action into them and be your best self for yourself and also for others. I hope you have a blessed day, and I hope that I've added value to your life today, some kind of value to your day, and that you seek the help that you may need, and just be joyful and just live your best, perfect, fullest life. Have a great day. Thank you for watching this, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.